we go again.
Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast with your host, Sarish Khan. I have a very, very special guest here today, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear this conversation. She is the epitome of a woman who is confident, independent, and forges her own path. Ani Zonneveld.
Hi.
Welcome to Platinum Pussy.
Thank you. Glad to be here at the Platinum Pussy.
I love the excitement. I've been trying to contain myself because there's so much to talk about.
Yes.
But I want to start with a little bit about you. You are a Grammy-certified songwriter. You're an activist. You're the founder of Muslims for Progressive Values. And beyond that, you are also now a published author and an Imam.
Yes.
There is so much to unpack there, so much to talk about. But I want to start with, when I asked you to come on the podcast, you had no hesitation, no reservation. And given that you are in a space of like spirituality and faith, the title alone can be a little jarring and give somebody pause. So I commend you for just like being very confident and, you know, going with what felt right to you. And have you had any hesitation or thoughts about how people are going to react or what they're going to think?
No. What I was thinking about, should I swear or not? That was my only, where do I draw the line? Because, I want to be as authentic as possible. And usually when I do, speaking engagement and public engagement and things like that, I'm usually much more reserved. And obviously this is more of a real women-to-women conversation. Mm-hmm. And we should be able to be just as open and honest as possible. And sometimes swear words do come into the picture. Right, and
I love.
Then there's that control thing.
Of
right?
course.
Should we as women swear in public?
And should we filter ourselves and be held to such a high standard? Yeah. I love that you said that, because there's so many times where we can't separate the person as an individual from the work that they do.
Yeah.
And I think you have to show up in certain spaces with, a different type of candor, and then when you're just at your core representing yourself, it's a different environment.
Yeah.
It's a different audience.
Yeah.
So thank you. I already know this is going to be a very vulnerable, raw, and real conversation. I was struggling which way I want to lean or what topics I want to bring up. One of the first questions that kind of came up was around what's happening in the Middle East, right? And I want to address this up front in the episode is, of course, that is something so, so important to talk about. And today I'm interviewing you as a woman, as a person. It's like the path you forged for yourself. And that's the inspiration I want people to get. And I feel with everything going on in the world and the war, it deserves its own episode and not just to be brushed over.
Yeah.
But given that, I think this is a time where a lot of Muslims are feeling like they need to fight for their identity and show the world who they are. And there's also a lot of people who are questioning faith at this time. And there's something in your memoir that really resonated with me. And it's something that I went through multiple times in my life of, do I identify as a Muslim? Do I not? Do I want to be recognized in this way? And there's a chapter which talks about, am I going to be Muslim or am I not? Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing a bit, but it came early on during your college times when you were in Illinois. There's so many gems in there about like experiences you had, but I want to start with this question of identity.
Yeah.
What was the biggest thing that was bringing up this question for you? What was the internal debate that you were having?
I think for us, we were both raised in a community or in families that are traditional practicing Muslims, right? You in Pakistan, me in Malaysia. I had my parents who were traditional Muslims, fasting, praying, and all that good stuff. But the way my parents raised me was in a very pragmatic and open-minded sort of way, and in a non-discriminating, non-sexist kind of way. And therefore, there was no conflict about being a Muslim. And so my Muslim identity was really solid, intact growing up. And then coming here to the United States, there were a lot of questions being asked of me. Why is this, and what is it about Islam that is this and that and the other? And particularly after 9/11. And that really forced me as a Muslim to, like, hang on a second, I actually don't know the answers to these questions, and I claim to be Muslim, which is, I think, the issue with a lot of Muslims who are born into the faith. And it is only later in life, and I see this also in a lot of Muslim women in particular here in America and in the West, where because they can read and they're critical thinkers and readers, they are reassessing Islam and how the Islam of the Quran versus the Islam of the culture of whatever culture they were raised in. And so I think it's really important to reassess yourself. And it's really, it really is it's a very insecure journey to go through, because you're completely reassessing your own identity, and your identity is really hinged on, my identity was really hinged on being a Muslim. And so undoing that and reassessing, what kind of Muslim am I, or do I still want to be a Muslim? And that whole journey of relearning Islam is unnerving.
Was there anything particular in the faith that you came across that you didn't agree with based on like the way it was taught to you?
Yeah. I'll share a story. I was living in India at that time, and I was about 12. I had already menstruated, right? And so I'm a woman now, right? And along with that, you're not supposed to pray when you're menstruating. You're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z because whatever. Misogyny.
Right.
And so I've always loved the azan, and before living in India, I lived in Cairo, so hearing the azan in public was, like a daily thing. And so I always would practice it on my own quietly. And I was in India at this time, and I was practicing the azan, the call to prayer, and my room, the door was ajar, and then my mom rushes to the room, it's like, stop. And I'm like, what did I do? And she's like, you're a girl, you can't do the azan, it's forbidden. And I'm like, oh man, that's so whack.
You're like, I have to challenge this.
I instinctively knew this is so whack. And that's kind of like that misogynistic underlining. And my mom, in the scheme of things, was pretty pragmatic as a Muslim woman and all that. Sure. But still, she was perpetuating misogyny in the context of Islam.
I had those questions growing up as well, and I grew up in Virginia for the most part, and the Muslim community there is very strong. It's heavily South Asian, so just like you, the culture influenced my practice of faith really heavily, and so I loved like the celebration of it, the coming together, and all of those things at like a young age. But I remember going to the mosque, and it was the prayer was just, it was so beautiful, and I'm like, oh, how come like women never do that, or why are we in the back? For me, it was more like, why am I in the back? Like I want to be in the front, like I want to be closer to God. And some of the explanations I would get is like, well, like a woman's body is so attractive.
God forbid the men will be looking at your butt. Right?
Like I just remember that argument. I just remember them like, oh, like a woman's voice is like too attractive, or like her body is too seductive, and so when you bow down, it's very distracting for men. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm pretty distracted too. Yeah. And so I think like what I got out of it, and the questions that came up for me were around sexuality, actually, because I like, why were women only sexualized? And I was like, is there something wrong with me that I'm distracted? So
let me share something with you. So I watched a movie called oh man, I forget the name of the movie, but it's about this female conductor, and it was amazing because the reason why there were no female conductors, in the classical music for a long time, was because your back was to the audience. and it's about the butt. Can you believe this? And it's in the movie. It's just like she was talking about it. It's like, it's so freaking absurd. This body, this woman's body, everything is freaking sexualized. Like, and it's as if the harm that's caused onto women by men because of sexualization is, we know all that, right? Mm-hmm. But it's so crazy how you can't even have a profession because it's your butt.
Because of the male gaze. They can't control themselves. Yeah. I have so many things to say about that, because I feel like so much of this whole pressure on like women and how they dress and how they look to not like provoke a man. Yeah. I think so much of it is because men can vocalize their sexual needs or desires and women can't. Because I am telling you, the amount of times I've sat with women, they are equally distracted. Like, you're watching football, you're distracted.
Yeah.
So it's just the same, but we just have self-control. And I think the reason we have self-control is because society has forced us to have self-control. Yeah. So I'm not promoting women to not have that control, but I think men can also, they're capable. Yeah. They're capable of it, right?
Totally, like, of course.
Yeah, it's like, it's if your intention is to go and be closer to God and you see a beautiful woman, just, say mashallah. I don't know. That's how I feel.
The other thing is, all that excuse is utterly nonsense, because the first female imam was appointed by Prophet Muhammad. Now, we were not taught that.
Wait, tell me more about that, because I don't know about that.
Yeah, the first female imam was Waraka, and this is in the city of Medina, and she was an elderly lady, and she wanted to join Prophet Muhammad in this one particular battle, and as a nurse or something, and Prophet Muhammad says, no, you are better serving the community as an imam. And so she was the first female imam. And not only that, he also appointed her a muazzin. That's the one who does the call for prayer. Wow. Right? And so to call the community to prayer. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that we don't have female imams in the 21st century as it's Sunni, because some Shia sects do, it's kind of like, that excuse of the men's gaze and all. It's kind of lame. It's a lame excuse.
How you are an imam, and that is actually how I got connected with you, is because at the time I was in a relationship with someone who's Christian, and we were starting to get serious, and I tried to look up like, where can a Muslim woman and a Christian man get married, and there's like an imam in the US will not perform your ceremony. Yeah. And so I was researching, and that's how I found Muslims for Progressive Values. And then when I scrolled down and I saw that there's like a female imam, like my mind was just blown. And then you're in LA and I slid into your DMs, and that's a whole other story. But you've had your journey with faith, you grappled with it, you have become an advocate for it. What made you want to be an imam? Because that's a whole other vertical.
Yeah. It wasn't my intention to become one. It was basically, first, I just wanted to create a community that was egalitarian in our values, flat hierarchy, none of this misogynistic and homophobic stuff. And also the right, as a singer-songwriter, the right for me as a woman to express myself in the arts. And there were a lot of Muslims that were feeling the same way. And that was for me the impetus for starting Muslims for Progressive Values, or finding community here in LA. And but the woman that really gave us all permission to do so was Dr. Amina Wadud, who's the African-American scholar of Islam, and she led men and women in prayer at a, I think it was Ramadan, or maybe it was Eid in 2005 in New York, and it was on BBC. It was all hell broke loose, obviously, because it was the first publicly women-led imam, women leading men and women in prayer, right? So And when that was on television, and by that time there was this burgeoning progressive movement right after 9/11, and that, with her leading prayer as a scholar of Islam, she really gave us the permission, like, we as Muslim women have the right to lead prayer should the community feel that you're the most qualified, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So as a result of finding the community, it was like, who's leading prayer? So I would look around and, and like, Ani, you are. Like, that wasn't the plan, or it didn't cross my mind to even lead prayer, but that's kind of like how I fell into it. And same with conducting interfaith marriages. It was, just falling into, as a result of requests of, people, couples wanting that sort of services. And yeah, that's kind of like how that happened.
Did you face pushback from, I guess, more conservative, traditional, as they would call it, faith communities within Islam, like especially with the men, and like how did you deal with it?
Yeah, in the beginning, there would be a couple of men that would come and start threatening us and things like that. And I'm like, listen, if you don't agree with us, that's fine. Just go to the next mosque, let us just do our own thing. And I think at the end of the day, it's not to be confrontational or not as a put down, but just like, this is how we as a community are. So be it. There's a verse in the Quran, you be you, I be me. It's like, you can't dispute that. So, but I've received my share of threats, but I've also, the most challenging one is actually with the Malaysian government, because it was the Malaysian government that was spearheading this whole campaign against progressive and feminist Muslims.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I wrote about it, how we fought back and all that. But when you're talking about human rights from an Islamic context framing, it's a threat to the traditionalists and to the misogynists and to the patriarchs, because using the language of faith, I'm saying, hey, Prophet Muhammad gave women the right to lead prayer, and not only that, he put women in the head of the humanitarian department, the head of the Department of Education in Medina, right? So it's like, what the hell is your problem with, women taking the lead, right? So when I give examples like that, it's hard for them to really argue back. And so that really worries them, because it's a powerful tool to use the language of faith and our own tradition, our good tradition, against what they're perpetuating as Islam.
Yeah. There's this, I feel like, and it's even harder when you're a woman, but there's a sense of otherness when you're fighting for human rights and you're an advocate, because then you're in a certain category.
Yeah.
And you talk about this in your book. And I think women so often get put into categories as it is, and it's so relatable. And I found your book to be so relatable just on a granular level of what women face in the world. Of just, when I was reading the whole section about like being too Muslim or not Muslim enough, right? Oddly, it just a completely different environment, but it reminds me of what I'm trying to do with the podcast, where it's like, okay, it's called Platinum Pussy. There's themes of sexuality, being independent, having autonomy over your body. But to some people, I'm too liberal with the things I'm talking about. And to other people in the feminism, female sexuality space, I'm a little too conservative, because I'm saying things like OnlyFans should be shut down, right? Yeah. Like, to me, that's not my version of feminism. But it doesn't need to be one or the other. Like, I love that you just like found your own path, and it takes so much grit. And I'm in a place where I'm still paving that path. And so I want to like stick with that a little longer, because it's like, you have all the confidence, you've been there, done that, and you want to do what you want to do. You're so confident in that. But how did you get to that level of like, I guess composure in yourself?
It's called getting old.
Fair enough.
The older you get, you're like, I don't give a fuck anymore. It's like, I'm just gonna do me, take it or leave it, and there is really some beauty in it, right? Because as you get older, you just realize the short life ahead of you, and you just want to do as much as possible within that time frame, and you don't want to lose any time on stupidity. And so every moment has to be constructive, has to be one step ahead, one step forward towards whatever your vision is. And that's one thing. And the other thing about getting older is that you really don't care about what people think about you. I've never been that kind of person anyway. So I started out really not caring about what, so I charge, like even coming to LA to become a songwriter or to be in the music business, not knowing anyone. And, that's a whole conversation. But even that was just like such an absurd trajectory of my life, because to be in the music business in LA and not really have a mentor or know anything about it and really work your way into it, that was a very challenging time. But I think that when you really want to do something, you just do it. Just plan and just go ahead and do it and be smart about it, right? And make sure you use your time, your resources in the most effective way. But I think you also have to have some level of cockiness as well. Otherwise, because we're talking about platinum pussy, but the environment in the music business and in a lot of industry, even in the human rights world, and particularly, and also in the space of religion, it's so dick energy, right? And it is intimidating. And so as a young woman in Los Angeles in the music industry, that dick energy is monstrous. Yeah. And it is like, I remember times when I'm like, I step back. Even as cocky or as brave as I was to be in LA by myself, trying to make my own path, there are times when I was just too afraid to step into it because I felt, I didn't feel safe. I felt that I was going to be taken advantage of or whatever the vibe was,
Well, let's pivot to music, because I want to talk a little bit more about like how you came to this world of music and what your inspiration was, and I feel like it goes hand in hand with the work you're doing as an activist. Did you always want to be a singer songwriter?
No, I've always loved music. That's something I knew from as long as I can remember. And even when I was about 4 years old, I would listen to a record, my favorite song of the week, whatever, and I would just wear it out. Like I would listen to it over and over, maybe up to 50 times. And every time when I would listen to the song, I would be analyzing the arrangement. And this is at a very young age. I was already doing that instinctively. I wasn't just like trying to be... I didn't pretend to be singing in front of a mirror, like a star would. I was more interested in the background, the behind the scene kind of stuff, the production, the engineering, how is the music arranged, and that kind of stuff, and how does the vocal sit and all of that. How does the vocal and the lyrics are married together to make it so impactful? That kind of stuff, that kind of thinking, and I was doing that from a very young age, but my dad, was the one that really exposed me to a lot of all sorts of music from a young age. And it's really weird because he's this really stern man 6 days out of the week, and very, very patriarchal kind of father and authoritarian, even, I would say. Asian parents.
Of course, yeah. They have to be. I think that's what they were taught, right?
Yeah.
So it's like just been passed down.
And then, but come Sunday, he was like Mr. DJ. And he would play all kinds of music, and he would be the one pretending, like he'll hold something and pretending he was the singer and crooning to, Nat King Cole, whatever was his favorite song of that time. So he really exposed me to all sorts of music, and we lived all over the world. So my music exposure was vast. But then I also, at 5 years old, I was gifted with piano lessons, classical. So I'm classically trained for many years. And I would just pick up instruments along the way as I got older. So it's always been, but music wasn't haram in my family. Right?
Yeah, same. We listen to. I always listen to music, and I think so much of your formative years shape they give life to your talents, right? Like it's like I love dancing, and in my family it was very normal on the weekends. We'd have a dinner, we put on music, we dance. Like we were so influenced by Bollywood, and so I just love to dance, and it became my sense of like artistic expression, and I still dance. So I think that's like it's such a rarity to have that in your home, and not just because of faith, just because I feel like it's not a part of every culture where your like song and dance is in your home.
Yeah, but so the thing is, so here we are in the United States in the 21st freaking century, and we're told that music is forbidden in Islam, right? Or you can't dance, and when our culture is so imbued in all of that music and dance. Like I just came back from Africa, and everybody dances, even the women, the Muslim women in hijab, they're all dancing.
Right.
It's like, no, it's like, it's human. And it makes you happy to dance.
It does.
I totally love dancing, so it's like, what are you doing? It's like, so they kill this sort of traditional, it's not even traditional. We should not use that word. It's twisted. Version of Islam that has taken away all the joy of being human, and as a way of like, well, my philosophy is like they do that as a way to harden your soul, because without the arts, you're not human, right? And we are all creative souls, because God is the most creative entity, and when we're in the womb. So we all are creative, whether in business or dance or music, whatever it is, we all are creative. That's what makes us human. And so when all these twisted Muslims say that the arts and music and dance is all forbidden, it's to cut us from our own spirituality.
Yeah. Is that why you chose to blend faith with music?
Yes. It is to remind Muslims of the value and the intricate the intricate value of being human is also to be connected to the God in you, and the God in you is by way of being creative.
Walk me through what it was like. You're in LA, you want to make music, and you had already started making music in the spiritual space, and
No, I wasn't yet.
Oh, you weren't.
I was doing just secular music. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you arrive here full of like light and joy in your eyes.
What the hell am I doing here? Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
I could just imagine that though, and you wanted to continue doing secular music and like faith-based music?
No, I was not. I wasn't even thinking about faith-based music, but I had always had that social justice DNA from a very young age. So some of my music, even though that was intended for secular audience or artists, there was always a bit of that spiritual element, or like I would be writing, like people think that, oh, I'm writing about a guy, I'm writing about a woman for a particular artist, but actually I would be thinking about a god, for example.
I have to, so this is, my grandmother said this to me once. She's like, if you take any love song and convert it to you speaking to God, it's like a form of prayer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, great. This is wonderful. No, but it's so true though.
Yeah.
It is, because it's a form of like love and worship.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you arrive here, you want to make music. What is the beginning? Like, do you set up a meeting? Are you going to parties? Like, how are you breaking in?
God. So, okay. So I didn't know where to begin. Actually, I really didn't know where to begin. Did I want to be in the business end of things, or did I want to be in the creative end of things? Whatever it was, just like, discovering your identity, what kind of Muslim I wanted to be. It was the same thing, is that what do I to sort of cross out what I don't want to do. Okay. And so at this time, there's no internet, right? It's in the 80s. In 1986 is when I came to LA, and so everything is like you have to look at the newspaper to find work, and I didn't know anyone. All the good jobs is based on who you know. It's not what's published. It still is, right?
Yep.
Truth be told, people.
Go network.
Exactly. So I worked. So I interned at a press, at a public relations firm, and then I really hated that because it was basically stuffing envelopes with the records and sending it out to the radio stations. And then I worked as a secretary for a manager, Lyle Baker, who was the manager for Janet Jackson at one time.
Oh wow!
And he ended up being such a druggie. And then after a while, all these weird characters started coming into the office, and I was like, oh, I need to get out of here. So, so I definitely don't want to do PR. Definitely don't be in the business. And so I started then really delving into the songwriting and buying equipment and testing myself whether I could do it even. And I realized I could. And so it was just a matter of pursuing that. And then networking was going out to the restaurants that had music, like R&B or jazz musicians, and then just basically going up to them and say, hey, I'm a songwriter. Do you want to write with me?
Were people making advances at you all the time?
I used to.
Because I just imagine I'm the type of person, and still till this day, I'll walk up to someone and be like, hey, I'm so and so and I'm working on this, and they're like, yeah, great, let's get a drink, and I'm like, sure, no, yeah, let's get a drink, let's talk about it. And it's half of the time it's not what I imagined it to be.
I would wear a wedding band, even, obviously I was not married, but I would wear a wedding band thinking that would throw off any indication of availability, right? But the thing is, the crazy men in this freaking town is that if you're wearing a wedding band, that means that, oh, she must be really good enough to be married to.
Yeah.
And so that
She's got the goods. She's got the goods.
And so then it was then there was that, right?
And it becomes its own challenge.
Yeah. It's so freaking crazy.
It's insane. I mean, and this is in the 80s.
And the 90s.
We're in the 90s, and we're still there.
Yeah.
That is wild. That is. Did you? Were there other women in the industry that kind of you could lean on or talk to about these things, or did you feel like you were so different in the way you carried and composed yourself?
Yeah, there was that too. I was very different. I was very much a diplomat kid. I didn't dress the part. I was doing all this kind of what would be the male territory, the engineering and programming and things like that, and not the front person singing melodies and being the singer. So that was that. But then I had one experience with a woman with Warner Chappell, and she was horrible. She was so horrible to me.
Why?
I don't know. And she was just racist, prejudiced, spoke down to me, really treated me, in a very rude way. And so that was one female executive, really high-ranking executive in the publishing.
And you worked for her.
Yeah, I was in the publishing. I was signed by Warner Chappell at that time, and she was one of the top executives at Warner Chappell as a songwriter. I don't
know why women do that. I've had that experience in my career, in my corporate career.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could make out of it is they had to work so hard to get to where they are, and they want you to have a rite of passage or something. They don't want it to be easier for another person.
But then, the thing about it, there are men who are jerks, but then there are also men who just pull me in and then are the best. Are the best. Mm-hmm. I got my Grammy certification because of a male songwriter artist, right? That pulled me in on the project, which he didn't have to.
Yeah.
But he was just a good person, and you know, recognized me as a songwriter, fellow songwriter, you know, equal status. He didn't, you know, didn't look down on me or take advantage of me, or you know, none of that stuff, right? So it's like, so you know, so when you talk about platinum pussy, it's not about putting men down. It's about how do we as women really live our fullest, and have the men around us also step up to give us that, to allow us to do that, because a lot of the oppression towards women are from men as well. Obviously not, you know,
of course,
including women, but yeah, women in my human rights work, women are the patriarchs. They're the ones that teach the next generation about patriarchy and how to impose that on the next generation.
I, you know, I love your energy, and I'm like hoping I meet more women that have this energy of like the confidence and the power, but there's a calmness to you. There's not this level of like competition.
No.
Whether it's like against other women or other men. And I'm not quite there yet, because like the rage and the fire in me is still a little fresh right now. So sometimes I grapple with how calm and collected I need to be, but that's just not where I'm at right now. But I do feel that...
Well, you don't hear the swearing that goes in my head.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like the rage that goes in my head. It's like, you know, you need anger. You need that fire to keep fighting for what you believe in, right? And yeah, it comes off as calm, but that has a lot to do with being the diplomat's kid and learning to really control and censor yourself.
And it's helpful, because it's when you're coming from a place of being collected, your message is heard a lot stronger. Yeah. And that's been such a big thing for me, is like, what are you trying to like relay to the world?
Yeah.
And don't get caught up in people's judgment. Like, just make it clear, concise, and direct. Yeah. Some people are going to like it, some are not. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like for me, platinum pussy energy is really like the big dick energy for women. Yeah. And it's, I love men. I don't have a vendetta against them. I really like, they're doing their own thing, and I just expect them to rise to the occasion when there's space for them to like stand by women and support them. Yeah. I'm not expecting them to fight the fight for us, but to back us up and support it and like listen. Right. And I think it works both ways, because there's things that men deal with that I don't know, and I want to have those open conversations. Well,
you know, I tell you, so I just came back from a conference in Africa, and I was doing a workshop, a presentation on one of our programs on positive masculinity in Islam. And we've been doing this, you know, I've been doing this work in Africa in 3 countries there for the last 9 years. So I have and all my partners are traditional male imams, right? And their sermons every Friday is about women and girls' rights, women's right to work outside the home, and, you know, like really imbuing, you know, in really teaching and preaching about those values, so that the society changes. The society, you know, unshackles themselves from this toxic masculinity stuff, or the misogynistic framing of Islam. And so, but, you know, so I was listening to somebody else, and she was saying, she's from Zimbabwe, and she was saying how there's a lot of men committing suicide because they, and I know this is an issue here in the United States too, and that is because they feel as men, they are not providing for their family because they can't find work, and the wife is the breadwinner, and they feel emasculated by it, and so they commit suicide. And I'm like, that's toxic masculinity. I mean, I don't think you can get any more toxic than that, because as men, you shouldn't commit suicide, because your wife is there as the provider at this particular time in your partnership. Then go ahead and pick up and do the dishes, or cook, or take care of it, do whatever else that makes you a tight team, right? That's what it should be. And so to equate your value only based on you bringing home money, you know, it's a wrong equation. It's a wrong way to value your life, anyone's life. Doesn't matter, you're a man or woman, you know.
You know, I said in one of my past episodes that I think women should date in their tax bracket at the very minimum. And I had a bunch of different varying comments in response to that. And the reason I said it is not because of women, it's because of the men. Because this is the whole feeling of feeling emasculated, feeling less than. And then the only way to counter that is, as a woman, you can either shrink yourself or be less, you know, or they're not going to feel enough for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to break that in men, right? Like it's like, and that's the thing that has to be kind of collaborative. There is a part of me that feels like, you know, for me, it's more the ambition. Like, it's not really how much money you're making, but it's more like if you're just going to a 9 to 5 and you're comfortable with that, like, it's fine if you make less money than me, but like, are you working towards something bigger? But I think like anytime I've dated somebody and like the money comes into play, or they lose their job, or, you know, they're not progressing in their career, the competitiveness comes in.
Yeah. It's the insecurity. It's an insecurity that men have. And that's because for generations, or for however long, you know, since the creation of men, I think it's just been that the expectation. I mean, even in the Quran, it's like, you know, men are supposed to be the sole provider, right? Well, yeah, sure, 1400 years ago. But that's not the case now. Why are you bringing your 1400-year-old vibe into this 21st century world, right? And even then, Prophet Muhammad, as the positive masculine man, he was caring for children, his children. He was an engaging father. He cleaned up after himself, sewed his own clothes. You know, he was that kind of a man, husband, father. So the fact that, you know, I'll speak in terms of the Muslim men and how misogynistic some of them are, is, you know, it's like, you call yourself Muslim, just look at the Prophet whom you supposedly admire, you know, and be like him already, you know.
What do you, you know, this is a, I think there's more questions I have about this, and just like things I want to talk to you about is, we were having a conversation at your place about a week ago
with my husband.
with your husband there, which I just loved that conversation. And you know, maybe at some point I do need to get him on the podcast. But there was you know, we're discussing this feeling that, I will say, women in their 30s, like women my age, are experiencing, where they're kind of doing everything. And I think the dream at least I remember in my 20s, was like, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to be a career woman. I'm going to be a mom. I'm going to look hot while I do it. I'm going to be independent. Like, I'm going to have like every single thing that I want in life. And it's a new idea, right? Because like, whether you were a career woman or not, like, men have never been held to that standard.
Yeah.
So they've never known, right? Yeah. Like, it's like the expectation is to bring home the money, have a career, but that's kind of where it ends. And that's still to a certain degree in society where it ends. And I catch myself doing that too. Like, I went to Whole Foods the other day and I saw a dad with like the baby strapped in front of him and then the baby in the stroller, and he's doing groceries. And my immediate thought was like, wow, what, like, this man is the dream.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, like, I don't know, his wife could be like an aeronautical engineer and she's like off to work in another country.
Yeah.
And it's his kids.
Yeah.
Like, what's the big deal? We see women doing this day in and day out.
And we have a very low bar for men when it comes to domestic work.
It literally is. Like, we're just so enamored by it.
Yeah.
I'm not anymore, because I'm like, listen, if I can do it on a 28-day hormonal cycle, you can do it.
Yeah.
Like, you're better equipped to do it.
Yeah. No, totally.
So, you know, we never expected any one person in society to you know, take all of these roles. But women have stepped up to that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's been because of a form of rebellion to show that they can be in every space, but I almost feel like we're trying to be in too many spaces at the same time.
So there's a lot there. Women are stepping up to become more career-minded. It's also because the space has opened up. That's number one. But also because there's a need for women to work in the workforce. And most couples, married couples, can't afford one income household. It's just what it is, right? So that's another reason why women are also in the workforce. The problem with how women end up doing it all is because here in America, our social structure, our economic structure is not designed for women to be in the workforce. It's designed for men. And so when it comes to, I mean, this is the latest thing that I've heard just yesterday, an economist was talking about it. Majority of women dominate university graduations and, 4-year and master's program and so on and so forth. But we're still behind when it comes to earnings, dollar per, our earnings per dollar. And particularly after we've had a child, we will never catch up because the default is the woman is the caregiver, right?
Yeah.
Because we earn 81 cents to the dollar. So obviously if the man earns $1 for the dollar, then, of course, the 81 cents to the dollar person is going to sacrifice, right?
Totally.
So that's one thing. The other thing, too, is it's not designed for women with children because caregiving is so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 2-3 kids, all your salary is going to be paid for the caregiver or the school, whatever, what the extra afternoon hours that you need the kids in school, what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now corporations are saying that everyone needs to come back to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so women are finding that they need to quit their jobs because they can't do it all because they have to do it between this 9 to 5. Then who's going to pick up the kids?
Right.
Who's going to make dinner? Whereas before they were able to juggle it all and still make it work and have a career, right? And so that door is closing on them as well. And men are not stepping up in order to change the policies to make it amenable for women and for men in marriage because it benefits everyone, right? It benefits the children because they'll have their mom caring for them or the dad caring for them, and it is beneficial for the family to have two parents earning an income, and it's beneficial for the woman because then she also has a life beyond the family, right? But that's not how our society in America is designed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then men want to come home and wonder why their wife is not ready for the bedroom and she's drained.
Or in high heels and pumps, right?
And this is one thing I remember, like, men used to be like, a woman is supposed to, like, always, like, never supposed to deny her husband in Islam. And I'm like,
that's
okay.
Not true. That's such a lie.
What are some of, like...
That is such a lie.
I know, but I'm like, it's like, you should never deny your husband sex. And I'm like, that sounds good, but is it the other way, too?
Yeah.
Like, it should be.
Yeah.
But sex is never talked about when it comes to faith, Even married couples will not talk about it. It is such a topic of shame. And especially if it's, like, a woman who's frustrated. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure the faith permits a woman to get a divorce if she's not sexually satisfied.
Yeah, that is a basis for a divorce in Islam.
Nobody ever told me that.
Yeah. No, as a matter of fact, the basis for a woman to ask for a divorce is so low. For example, if she wakes up one day and she turns to her husband like and has like, oh, you look like an ass, like, I want a divorce. Actually, that's permissible.
How many women are going to be running to, like, an imam?
Thank you, everyone.
You're gonna after this episode, you're gonna become the divorce imam. I'm sorry, I woke up and he's so cringe. Like, I just don't want to be with him anymore. I have no sense of respect or desire or attraction.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Have you kind of worked with in the space of, like, faith and religion around the topic of sex and sexuality?
Yeah, we do. And actually, we do it with our imams. So, with our African imams, there's about 3,400 of the imams in our network and our partners. And they talk about body autonomy. They talk about sex. They talk about protected sex. I mean, they do all of that as part of their sermon. And we do workshops with young women as well on that subject matter. So it's really remarkable how, and we also implement that program. It's called it's like a teen club that we go in Islamic schools in Africa, and we teach both boys, young men and young women about positive masculinity and what that looks like. And so for the young men, it's for them to aspire to become and to, because they're growing, right? This is a good time to get their heads away from ego and machismo and all that. And for the women to also see, that's what positive masculinity is. That's the kind of men like I would want to be with, not this toxic stuff, right? So
what are some of the ideas around positive masculinity?
It's about, first of all, it's against settling disputes through violence. So domestic violence is an issue in a lot of Muslim. It's an issue, period. But in Islam and some of the conservative or traditional communities and cultures, it's this permissibility for the husband to beat their wives based on a particular word that has been bastardized, and giving the husband permission to beat the wife. And in some mosques, or I would say in a lot of mosques, that's what they preach. Like the man has the right to control the wife, right? To force himself on his wife, even if she's not feeling it, right? A marital rape. So we talk about all this, the positive aspect of being a human being, about being compassionate, about settling disputes in a kind way and compassionate way rather than forceful and in a violent way. So those are some of the examples. And then stepping up as men to be protective of the women, to give women the space, the women their rights. So we really come at it from all the different angles. And, obviously you talk about sex and recognizing the change in your bodies, whether you're... because parents are not very good about talking about these things with their kids. So we do that at the high schools and through our imams, through our networks of imams and workshops. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like it's so necessary. It always has been, but I think especially right now because it is really confusing, I think for men as well.
Yeah.
What their place is in the world.
Well, you've got characters like Andrew Tate, that are just awful men.
Yeah.
And how and then he converts to Islam. I'm like, oh fuck, we just.
It's okay. We don't need you. We're okay. Please.
Get lost, please. And so a lot of young Muslim men are following him. Like as if he's like the role model. And so that's why we're pushing back harder on that. It's like, what are you talking about? Well, what kind of Muslim are you? It's like, wake up already.
Yeah. There is this thing of like being the traditional man and then like the trad wife that is very attractive to some people.
Yeah.
I don't have a strong opinion against it. I will say in the situation where someone has decided that this is what they want for the rest of their lives, like as a woman, right? Like my concern is always with women. If someone has decided they don't want to deal with the outside world, I want to be a wife, I want to be a mother, I want to be at home, I want to look good, I want to cook, I want to do all those things, and I want the man to have all of the stress, and the man feels more masculine doing all that, as long as there's like respect and it's healthy. Yeah. I'm not against it, but you have to be ready to stay that way forever, because somebody is signing up to get married to you. Yeah. Assuming you're going to stay the same. Yeah. So you can't have this like revelation, like once your kids are in school that now I want to be this big career woman, because it's probably not going to work. The marriage is not going to work. So it's a very long-term commitment of like staying the same. And I think it gets, when you have that as one end, and the other end, I think that there just isn't a standard. I feel like there isn't a standard in society right now of like how men and women are supposed to relate when it comes to a long-term relationship or a marriage, as far as like, what are your responsibilities? What are my responsibilities?
Yeah.
And I kind of struggle with this too, because I am independent and I do like making plans and like doing some of those masculine things. But at the same time, like my body cannot keep up. Like when I'm on my period, I cannot.
Yeah.
Like I need the other person to like kind of fill that space.
Yeah.
And then, those are some of the arguments I've had in relationships where it's like, well, I didn't know you needed help.
I think, so for me, I've been very fortunate where, all right, so my parents, my dad was the breadwinner, my mom was the wife. That's it, right? But my brothers are an amazing example of amazing husbands. So my oldest brother, who passed away recently, is an artist. His wife is also an artist, and they built this art cultural center together. And he was, and as they were partners in the sense that without him, I mean, now he's passed away, so they realized like how supportive he has been. And he actually sacrificed his artistry to build the business, right, for them, right? And he'd cook and clean and fix things up in when things broke down, just took care of the business. And my other brother is a doctor. His wife is also a doctor, and they have a clinic together, and so they built that business up, and they have somebody that cooks dinner for them, when they come home, and but they share in household chores.
Yeah.
So I went home to my family last year, and my brother's folding laundry. My doctor brother is folding laundry, right?
Yeah.
And so in front of the TV watching the news, it's like...
Yeah.
Right?
It's just, but that shows me somebody who just like steps up to it and is not... Like you, sometimes like you don't have to always have the conversation.
Yeah,
it's just
it
intuitive.
should be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And my daughter, and so that's Malaysian example that I have that are just incredibly positive. So and then things change. Like for example, when my sister-in-law was really ill, then my brother took on more responsibility. And so things don't stay the same.
Yeah,
life doesn't stay the same, and it's kind of weird if it does. And so, so things fluctuate, and as partners, you're supposed to kind of fill in those gaps, and just be fluid with it, right? And so it's okay. And then I'm happy to say that my daughter, she's married and she's millennial, and they are really partners in the same example that I have with my brother. So it's really nice that both her and her husband have this relationship and chores and how they share chores, and they don't have any kids yet, but so it's good to see that example in a younger generation.
It's just a balance. It's actually not that hard. I think we've just made it harder.
Yeah.
The communication has been harder. I also think a lot of the things on social media and like the Andrew Tate stuff, a man should be like this, and then the toxic femininity of like how to manipulate, how to get the man. Yeah, there's just these voices are so extreme, and even sometimes I've like forgotten that. Okay, you can just talk about it. Just talk about it. Like it's like I need help. Can you like be there for me? And like that's it. There's no like I'm stepping into the feminine role now. Like you're just partners in life, and
that's right.
And I think that's like that's in like every faith. That's in every like culture. It's just like a value system, and we've gotten a little far from that. So that's like it's really nice to hear those examples because it's not. We've made it difficult, and it's not.
Exactly.
I made notes because I knew I would just start chatting with you and I would forget some of the other things I wanted to ask you. Okay. this is like going back to an earlier topic. This has to do with your music career. This is for my personal benefit. I have to ask this question. You had this like ping pong match with LL Cool J.
Yeah.
And you won.
Yeah. I beat his ass.
I remember reading that and I went back. I was like, wait, this is LL Cool J?
Yeah.
Okay, I love. How did this happen? Tell me this story. Was he the LL Cool J at that time, or was he on the up and up?
He was he was not up and up. He was it at that time. So I've been playing ping pong for a long time. As a matter of fact, I think when I retire, I'm going to play ping pong semi-professionally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right, so he picked the wrong component.
Yeah, exactly. But so I've been playing ping pong, and a lot of my opponents have always been guys, older than me and supposedly faster than me and all that good stuff. But I'm working at a studio here in LA, and they have the recreation room or creative room, or we have the ping pong table. It's kind of like a standard. And so I was out there, and he was out there with his gang of friends, getting drinks or what have you, and there was nobody was playing. So I was like, I pick up the bat. Hey, you want to play? It's like, so we started playing, and then smashed. And
did he take it well though?
Yeah,
was he like, we need a rematch?
Oh no, he was so cool, And then and so his friends or buddies were like cheering, and it's like, they were like, all these reactions, right? And you know what was funny is that during Coachella, Jasmine, my daughter, was at a party she got invited to, and LL Cool J was there. So she called me up and said, "Hey, LL Cool J's here." I was like,
did she go up to him like, hey, by the way, do you remember my mom? She beat you in ping pong.
That's what she
crushed.
did.
She did?
I told her to. It's like, go up and tell him.
That's so funny. Did he remember?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't remember. He just laughed.
I feel like he remembered.
I don't know.
We have to get to the bottom of this. LL Cool J, if you're watching this, we need to talk about it.
It was so fun, yeah.
That's so funny, and it was just such a light moment in your book, and it stayed with me because that healthy competition is so fun.
Yeah.
And then especially if it's like a boys club.
Yeah.
Because I have it at work sometimes, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can hold my own, and it's just fun, it's not malicious at all.
Yeah.
And that's crazy that you happen to be this ping pong champion. It's so good.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up before we ended, but before I have one last question for you, but before I ask you that, is there anything else you wanted to share or bring up about the work you're doing, or any advice you want to give young women and men when it comes to their place in the world and pursuing their passions?
So there are a lot of young people that are. I'm not promoting a religion. I just want to promote spirituality and being good human beings. And you don't have to believe in a God to be a good human being. That's what I believe. I just really feel that in the context of the human rights breakdown that we have in this world, with what's going on in Gaza and what's going on in the DRC, in Sudan and all the conflict, I think the young kids now, the young folks there now, can really see for themselves what is right and what is wrong. Thank goodness for that. But what I really hope is that they don't get discouraged, that they continue on this path of solidarity for human rights, for a human being, regardless who that human being is. Because I think that it's easy to lose your humanity in the corporate world because you're so busy chasing the money. And although that is all understandable, I think it's really important to stay anchored in humanity, in the caring of your neighbor, the caring of all people, and not be tribal about it, because it's like a lot of times people in human rights in particular they only care about their rights. LGBT care about the LGBT rights, women care about women's rights, and so on and so forth. And it's like, no, we should all be caring about each other's rights. And we would have a better world for that. So that's my ask of everyone.
That's so beautiful. I had to pause for a second and let that sink in for myself, because I think it's really beautiful that in this day and age we can use our voice, and whether it's through social media or through any like public avenue, to raise awareness of like our particular causes. But it's a reminder that we're all in this together.
Yep.
And so we have to all elevate each other, and no one's mission is more or less important than somebody else's. So that's a beautiful, beautiful way to sum all of that up. I want to turn to this last question I have, and this is something that a coach gave to me, a mentor, as a way of figuring out what my life's purpose is in this current stage. And it can change and evolve from time to time. And so this is sort of an exercise I revisited recently. And in your last chapter of your book, you sort of discuss the concept of burnout and how, you don't seem to feel the burnout, or it hasn't made you stop because there's still so much to do, right? What fuels you is stronger than the fatigue or the sleepless nights. And so the question I want to ask you is, let's fill in the blank. Okay. I will feel that my work here is done when?
In starting the Muslims for Progressive Values, I have an exit strategy. And that exit strategy is when the mosques in America all adopt our 10 principles of egalitarianism, then I would be done. But that's just like a slither of the big picture. But yeah, that would be an easy fill in the blank. But if I croak tomorrow, I think I'll have a smile on my face. I'm good.
I love that. I love ending the episode there, because I feel like you are living your dream.
Yeah.
You're living your dream life in how you want to show up in the world, how you want to serve people. And so there isn't this sense of I wish I could have done this, because you are doing it.
Yeah.
And I think there will always be more to do, but it's coming from a place of like love and passion and ambition. And that's really all I want for every person, but specifically that's what I want for women is like that encompasses the platinum pussy energy to like step into your power. And really it's how you've summed up when you feel like you can be at rest is I wish that for everyone, to feel like I'm actively doing the things I want to do, and my goals and my missions might change over time, and I'm not going to let anybody make me feel small or too much. Yeah. So thank you so much for this conversation. Your book, I want to show you guys, is An Unlikely Social Justice Warrior. And I feel like this conversation has shown us why the word unlikely showed up in there, but you just followed the path. You stood up to the challenge and the path appeared. And the memoir is amazing. Tell us where we can find it, where we can follow you, how we can support your purpose and your mission and be involved.
You can, I would prefer people bought it at their local bookstore, or have the local bookstore order it, and at the publisher's website itself. And Muslims for Progressive Values is the name of the organization, and mpvusa.org, and then you can look me up, Ani Zonneveld, on social media as well. And just be there for us, share our stuff. Yeah.
You were the perfect choice for the first guest episode. So I couldn't be happier. And maybe we'll have a round 2.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
until then, everyone listening, stay platinum and tune in next week.